tried, and I had enough, but I got an infection. So I was sick for a number of months. I wasn't sick per se, I just couldn't do it. Anyway, so I didn't have the time for him because of that. So he would cry a lot. He was a gorgeous child, absolutely gorgeous.
A good boy.
Huh?
He was a good boy.
He was a good baby. Otherwise, yeah. He was a good boy. He was a good child growing up. I never had a problem. Never. And the twins would fight everybody in the alley. Not Bennett.
Tough guys, huh?
He just got along. He never fought with people. And they would fight in the street. They would tease people. They'd get into trouble. My neighbors used to say, "Come play mahjong, but keep your with us, but keep your girls on your side of the street." They were really aggressive kids because why? Because there's two in numbers. They had strength in numbers. They could do anything because one would defend the other. Anyway, you're not gonna. You better get going. No.
I got time. I got it over an hour.
What? And you'll be ready in an hour? What time you want to leave? 11?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, so enough of that, huh?
What else?
What else do you want to know?
What else are you into? You've been around a while. You've seen a lot of changes.
I've seen changes, yes, of course.
Presidents, a lot of presidents.
Yeah, we said, yeah, I remember our president. You were born in 63?
Mm-hmm.
Our president was killed in 63.
Mm-hmm. You say our president. Is that because you Kennedy?
Yeah, I always assume everybody, yeah, Kennedy was killed in 63. It was a terrible, terrible shock to the world, to this country. Everything stood still. It stood still. The radio was on in my house, and I had a decorator who was painting my house. And he happened to be a Jewish man who had just overcome the Holocaust.
Wow.
And this 63, and I'll remember that day forever. And he was painting, and he had his radio on. And I didn't have television or the radio on. And he started to cry. I said, "What?" And then he told me what he was hearing. He put it on loud. The whole world stood still. This city, everybody was in the streets in Chicago, talking and feeling this terrible thing. It was a whole weekend there.
It's had a strong impact on our country, too.
Oh, yes.
A lot of mistrust.
It was really unthinkable. I also remember your father was on the telephone. He was 8. The twins were 6. And I was in the hospital with both of them to take out their tonsils. And then would go in the night before. Your father calls me up and he says, "A terrible thing happened." I said, "What?" He says, "Roosevelt died, and what's going to become of our country with only Truman, 8 years old?" How do you like that? That was in April. Roosevelt died I think it was in April of 44. I forgot the year. Anyway, at 8 years old, he was bright enough to think that things might not be right, I don't think anybody 8 years old now is into the president. Do you?
No.
A few.
Maybe some. But since you were into it, then he would listen. And he...
At that time, I wasn't.
No?
No. I was too busy. I was too busy running cows.
Would you say running cows?
Well, you know, 'cause we were a family of 7,
Mm-hmm.
and you still wanted a social life, you know that.
7 because of your parents?
Right. And,
You all lived together.
yeah, what?
Your parents lived with you.
Yeah. I got married, and 2 weeks later my brother died. I never left the house. I was never alone till they died. They died. My father died in 60, my mother in 62. And they were both healthy people. If today they would have lived, they would have sat him up. They have surgery. The surgery was a success. The patient died. They didn't use intensive care units then. They didn't sit them up after surgery. You know what I'm saying? For my gallbladder operation, today, healthy, no diabetic, no high blood pressure, nothing. They were healthy people, no arthritic.
Mm-hmm.
We were healthy people. But surgery in those years was different than now.
It's advanced a lot.
You know, the intensive care units, and they set them up right away. This way they just let them lay. They didn't move. They thought that if you didn't move them, they'll be fine. That isn't so today, and you know that.
Wow. A lot of change in the medical industry, too, in the last 100 years.
Oh, my God. Your father, you know, lost a kidney.
No, I didn't know.
Huh?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, in 1956.
Did he ever find it?
If,
Where was it? Behind the couch?
if they would have had today's equipment for the machinery, what do you call it? You take tests. Then it was
CAT
just,
scan?
God, they would have known. And what they thought right away it was cancer. They prepared us, but it wasn't. The CAT scan and the other equipment that we have today would have told us bigger stories.
Right.
They might not have had to take it out. They might have medicated it and see what happens. This way, 1, 2, 3, they prepared me for cancer for the worst, the doctors. With no cancer.
Luckily.
You know, and he was healthy otherwise. But that's the way you can live with one kidney. We know that, you know. We kept him in a hospital a month after the surgery. Would they do that today?
No. Well, it depends if you had insurance or not.
I had insurance, and I had private nurses for him because I thought, man, you know, emotionally he might be disturbed. And the doctor said, he deserves it the best. I want private nurses for him. Okay.
Lucky kid.
Yep. And that time, Annie took over the store. He didn't go to work for a couple months. Then when Manny got a heart attack, it was just a reverse all over again, only the other one.
Did Bennett work in the store, in the drugstore?
I think when Manny was sick, he did go. Yeah, he went to work. He was going to school then. One of the schools that was after high school. And he used to go from there to go to the store at night and stay till 12 because Manny was sick. But he didn't do that long. I don't know for how long. In fact, we just talked about it. I had forgotten all about it. And he said it was hard because he got up early, went to school, then he went to the drugstore till late nights, you know. He was only 18 years old then.
Full day.
Yeah, he said he found that tiring.
Do you think maybe that's why he didn't get into the business?
He didn't like the drug business. That was not it. We offered. We had that. We had a chance at opening a store that was worth a mint, worth a fortune, right near Microway's Hospital, and we were listed in Dun and Bradstreet. As Dun and Bradstreet at that time was important. If you were listed there, you were a good payer. You were very dependent. You were the best. We were listed there because they paid their bills. So whoever wanted another pharmacist looked for that kind of person. So they opened a new store near Microway's Hospital, a new pharmacy, because it was growing there. They had built all that stuff, all the place to live. And we thought about it, we offered it, and then I reneged on it. I said, don't, because I don't want you going more nights. He worked nights, your grandfather, for many years of my life. And I knew I wouldn't let him, which would mean Bennett would have to. I didn't know how a new young wife would like that.
Judy.
Right.
My mom.
Right, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, not a new young woman wouldn't want that kind of life. And I backed off from pushing, but he really did not like the pharmacy.
Oh, so he was married already by then.
But yeah, it was just not long.
How did they meet?
Judy came to my house with the girls. There was a club she belonged to for a while.
The twins? She was friends with the twins first?
And so she knew Bennett, and Bennett had a girlfriend for a while.
So did the twins set them up, or it was just a coincidence?
Not at all. She came to the club meetings there, and then she left that club and joined another club. So I don't know. They went to the same school. Mm. We lived in the same neighborhoods, within blocks of each other. And they had mutual friends. And that's life in a big city, okay?
Okay. You sure had a lot of life in you. You're like a tiger.
We were lucky. Came here. We were so poor. I used to get a quarter for spending money for the week.
When you said you came here, you mean to the United States? Do you remember coming through Ellis Island?
Sure. I sure do.
What was that like? You were on a boat?
We were on a ship. We were in steerage. We came in steerage. That's all my father could afford.
So where were you in Russia?
We were in Russia, and then Russia was everybody wanted Russia. So Russia was being really attacked, everybody. If you remember the movie Dr. Zhivago.
Or was it Fiddler on the Roof?
No, both. Fiddler on the Roof is my little town.
Oh.
And that's the way it was. But Dr. Zhivago showed you what was going on with Russia. Everybody wanted possession of us. So every now and then we would have to evacuate our little town because bandits were coming in to take over Russia. They would set things on fire. They would